I'm on Superloop train today, and I'm going to hand you over to my next guest for her to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Emily Turner. I am a writer and a person who just likes yelling excitedly about buses. I have been on a lot of interconnected bus journeys around the country and like advocating for better bus services and transport more generally.
Okay, Emily, so what was your last bus journey? Tell me about that.
Well, admittedly, my last bus journey was the bus journey I took to UK to get to the Superloop. But I'll talk about another one because I think it's more interesting. Because on Sunday, I was doing a storytelling gig at Shimbola Festival, which is in Earl, Northamptonshire. And so I took the train to Northampton, got on the X7 bus, which is one of the few buses that really connects well from sort of more of the south to more of the north. It goes from Northampton to Leicester. It's really useful if you're going on a long bus journey. And it's a really good service. It's only single deck uses some low bridges, but it's a pretty rattly bus. And I was noticing the fact that it went really near to Shimbola Festival, but there weren't really many people. It was the last day of the festival. People were going home, but they weren't traveling by bus. And there were coach options that the festival was putting on, but I thought, actually, you could have better integration between a big event like a festival and local bus services because it was convenient to get, and if more people who were at the festival knew about it and there was more capacity on it for an event like that festival, it would be great. But generally, it was a pretty good journey. I got to go to a really nice, substantial country bus stop and wait and get the bus in. So it was definitely a nice experience.
Okay, Emily, tell me about the daftest thing you've ever seen on or from a bus.
So I was taking buses from London to Edinburgh, interconnected buses, and I can't remember exactly where it was. It was somewhere up in the north. I think a bus I took from maybe Whitby to Middlesbrough or something like that, somewhere in that range. And this group of like 5 to 6 teenage boys get on it. And they're just, it's a lot of fun. They're going out on the bus, they're away from their parents, and they're probably sort of 15, 16. And they start talking about the classic Lynx Africa, and then they get out all their different sprays and they start spraying them, and are like, just teenage boys so doused in the Lynx Africa and the smell, and it took me back to being 15. I mean, it was called something different. It was called Axe something in Canada. It was exactly the same thing, and I was like, the thing was, I'm pretty sensitive to smells, and normally if someone has too much perfume on in London, I'll just be like, I'll get on the bus, I'll get off the next one, and it would be an hour to the next bus. I didn't know when it was going to be, so I was stuck there with it, and I was forgiving because they're 15-year-olds who were just excited about their deodorant, but man, it was a lot of scent for a bus, a lot of teenage boys scent.
Absolutely. Could have been a lot worse, teenage boys scent.
Yeah, 100%.
Fantastic stuff. Okay, so tell me, if you can, about the best bus journey you've ever been on.
So it was probably, I can't remember what year it was, about 6-7 years ago, and I had to apply for a new visa over Christmas. I couldn't leave the UK. I was getting indefinite leave to remain. So I went, well, what's the furthest I could go in the UK? And because I don't have a passport. And the answer was Northern Ireland. So I went to Northern Ireland. And I kind of had, there was someone there that I wanted to see that I had to mix. It's a long story on that front. But I was in this kind of weird mental place, and I was like, I really want to go to the Giant's Causeway. And so I said, okay, I need to go to the train to this station and then take the bus to the Giant's Causeway. And that bus ride was so stunning. It wasn't even a very nice day. It was December, and you just had this incredible view of the coastline and just winding along in these green fields. And I thought, obviously all buses can't be like this. Most of them need to go to urban locations where people work. But it was really a really stunning view. And just, I think, really, from a kind of mental health perspective, really kind of a cleansing thing. I'm in this new place. I usually just fly back to Canada for Christmas, so I was kind of on my own, and it just was a really really warm and kind of, not physically warm, the bus was quite cold, but a sort of warm and lovely experience of sort of seeing a new place and just getting these incredible views. And I'm one of about 2 people on the bus, so I just felt this kind of jumping around like it was all my experience to have.
Yep, Northern Ireland's gorgeous. So, talking about access to lovely places, if you could get on a bus that would take you, a magic bus that would take you anywhere in the world, where would it take you and why?
I think my magic bus would be a transatlantic bus that would take me from the UK to specifically Nova Scotia. I went to university in Nova Scotia. It's one of my favorite places in the world, but my family's from the other side of Canada, which means that when I go back to Canada, I never go there because I go to the other side. And it's not a place that, it is a place I'd like to live again, but there aren't that many jobs there. It would be a very different lifestyle than what I'm used to living in London, to live in Halifax. But I just wish I could go there, every week or 2, just for a visit, just in my bus, under the ocean, pop up in Halifax, visit friends, and just see that kind of oceanic views. It's a place that I really think is beautiful.
Oh, sounds beautiful. Okay, last question now. The Superloop, as an idea, what do you think?
I really think the Superloop is doing something to sort of connect the outer suburban communities, which is really needed. I think particularly as something like housing in central London gets more and more and more unaffordable, there are people moving further and further out, and if suddenly, I'm someone my partner and I are looking at buying right now, if we go to one place and our friends buy a place on the other side, that connectivity without going into London is necessary. It's something that did used to exist. You have the inner circle, which is now the Circle Line, and the middle circle, which is now kind of the overground, and the outer circle. And I think those were train-based, obviously, but I think that sort of connection needs to be made. And I think when you think of something like the overground, which obviously in the past sort of little over a decade has really revolutionized that orbital travel around sort of more central London and how busy the overground gets, particularly for leisure travel and weekends, you need something like this further out. Now, I think it should be, a train, a tram, something more permanent. I think there should be other options, but I think it is a good starting point of connecting things up and making it easier to travel from the outskirts of London to other outskirts.
Understood. I mean, it is structurally much more difficult to put a train
100%,
or a tram, and the permanent connections you need.
And the cost, of course,
is vastly overpriced. Whereas, at least with buses, when something goes hideously wrong, they can go round. And they're more flexible from that point of view.
Yeah, for sure.
So I understand the concept, but I think it's actually quite fascinating that you don't have to go into the centre of night again, which makes it more expensive too.
Yeah, and I think it is really useful for people to have connections like that. You can see it in other cities. I'm thinking about Beijing because I was there years ago, but their metro system, you've got like various loops going out, and I think that is really useful. And I think also for someone, I used to be a teacher, for people who are working at locations in sort of different parts of the city as opposed to working centrally, it's really useful. And I know things like, particularly around accessibility and usability for different demographics. I know women tend to make more trips between places, particularly if you've got kids and the nursery's one way and one kid's school's the other way and that sort of thing. And as well as people with disabilities, because buses are a lot more accessible than the underground and trains in many, many cases. So I think those sort of connectivities and around widening access are important. And it's just nice to be able to say, I could just get this bus to where I want to go, instead of having to fight through Euston Station or something like that, which is so overwhelming for anyone, but lots of people with a lot of different needs, and it's horribly inaccessible in many. Euston's a bugbear of mine, but it's much better for that, and not having to change between the trains and the tube and the buses and all of that. So I'm positive about it. But I do think there's you know, they've just started. There's kinks to iron out and things like that as well.
Sure. Thank you.